I never thought I'd be betrayed by my own brother in this way. I paid for every single detail of his wedding, the venue, the food, the flowers, the music. I wanted him to have the perfect day, even if our relationship had always been complicated. But then, out of nowhere, I got a text that shattered me. "Emily, you don't really fit the vibe of the wedding. We hope you understand. Not invited." To the very wedding I had funded. At first, I sat in silence, shaking with disbelief. My parents brushed it off, telling me not to ruin the special day. My brother smiled smugly, as if I'd just fade quietly into the background. But he had no idea who he was dealing with. His perfect wedding depended on me, and when the catering trucks turned around and the venue went dark, everyone would finally see the truth. Growing up, my brother Jason was always the star of the family. If he scored a goal in soccer, it was a miracle. If he got a B in math, it was celebrated like he had cured cancer. Meanwhile, I was the one expected to be mature, the one who cleaned up after his messes, the one told to understand whenever Jason was selfish. He was the golden child, and I was the reliable one in the shadows. I can't count the number of times I skipped outings with friends because my parents asked me to babysit him. Or the times I handed over money from my part-time job so he could buy something flashy. My achievements were brushed aside: good grades, scholarships, promotions, while Jason was showered with praise for the bare minimum. Still, I loved him. I convinced myself that's what family was about: sacrifice. So, when Jason announced he was getting married, I swallowed every ounce of resentment I'd built up over the years. He and his fiancée, Madison, looked stressed as they rattled off plans. The breathtaking venue, the gourmet catering, the designer dress, the towering floral arrangements. It sounded like a fairy tale, except they couldn't afford any of it. I remember sitting there, watching Jason's face twist with frustration as he crunched numbers on a napkin. Madison's eyes shimmered with tears. They were so desperate to pull off a dream they had no way of paying for. Something inside me softened. Against my better judgment, I heard myself saying, "I'll cover it. All of it. The whole wedding, consider it my gift." For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then Madison cried, and Jason hugged me so tightly I almost believed he was genuinely grateful. My parents beamed with pride, bragging about my generosity like it somehow reflected on them. And for a fleeting second, I felt seen, appreciated, valued in a way I hadn't in years. Of course, that didn't last. The planning took off at full speed. I signed contracts, paid deposits, managed calls with vendors. The venue coordinator knew my name, not Jason's. The catering company emailed me directly about menu selections. Every receipt had my card on it. I wasn't just funding the wedding, I was building it from the ground up. And yet, every time I asked about my role in the ceremony, I got vague, dismissive answers. "We'll figure it out later." "Don't worry, Emily, you'll see." At first, I thought maybe they were just busy. But slowly, unease began to creep in. I could feel something brewing beneath their smiles. Deep down, I knew Jason. I knew his pattern. He'd take what he wanted, bask in the praise, and leave me standing on the sidelines. I just didn't realize how far he'd take it this time. The first red flag came one evening when I casually asked Jason, "So, where am I sitting during the reception?" He froze for a second, then gave me a half smile. "We'll let you know soon." Madison chimed in quickly. "Oh, it's going to be a small, intimate setup." "Don't stress about it, Emily." Their voices carried that fake sweetness I knew too well. My stomach tightened, but I brushed it off. Maybe they were just disorganized. But the excuses kept coming. I offered to help with seating charts. "Oh, we've got it." I suggested some music. "We'll handle it." Every time I brought up my role, I was dismissed like I was an outsider, rather than the person making the entire event possible. Then came the text. It was late in the evening, and I was scrolling through my emails from vendors when my phone buzzed. A message from Madison. "Hey, Emily. Just wanted to let you know we've decided to keep the wedding small and intimate. We really hope you understand. Thanks again for everything." That was it. No call, no face-to-face conversation. Just a cold, emotionless text. I read it 3 times, my hands trembling. At first, I thought I misunderstood. How could I not be invited to the wedding I was paying for? I called Jason immediately. straight to voicemail. I texted him, "What's going on? Are you serious about this?" Hours passed. My phone finally buzzed with his reply. "Look, we just don't think you fit the vibe of the wedding. It's nothing personal. Hope you're not mad." Not mad? I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. My own brother, the same one I had sacrificed for over and over, was telling me I didn't fit the vibe. Like I was some random acquaintance instead of his sister. I tried my parents, desperate for them to be outraged on my behalf. Surely, they'd tell Jason how wrong this was. But when my mom picked up, her voice was maddeningly calm. "Oh, honey, just let it go. It's Jason's special day. You don't want to make things awkward, do you?" Awkward. That's what she cared about. Not my humiliation, not the thousands of dollars I'd poured into their dream wedding, just keeping the peace like always. I hung up the phone and sat in silence, my chest tight. I had done everything for them. Everything. And now I was being tossed aside like I didn't matter. At first, all I felt was heartbreak, raw and heavy, crushing me from the inside. But as the hours ticked by, that sadness hardened. It sharpened into anger, into resolve. They thought they could use me, exclude me, and still walk away with their fairy tale ending. They were wrong. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Madison's smug text flashing across my phone screen. "You don't fit the vibe." My brother's words echoed in my head like poison. "Hope you're not mad." Mad? No, what I felt was something sharper. A kind of cold fury that sat heavy in my chest. I got up at dawn, poured myself a cup of coffee, and opened my laptop. If Jason and Madison thought they could cut me out after draining my bank account, they were in for a surprise. One by one, I pulled up the wedding contracts. Venue, catering, florist, photographer. Every single receipt had my name on it. Every confirmation email came to my inbox. The deposits? My card. The signatures? Mine. That's when it hit me. This wasn't Jason and Madison's wedding. Not legally, not on paper. It was mine. A slow smile spread across my face. For the first time in days, I felt powerful. I leaned back in my chair, scrolling through their social media posts. Madison had been bragging for weeks about her small and intimate wedding. But the photos told another story. Bridal showers with 30 guests, hashtags from distant cousins, coworkers commenting about how excited they were to attend. So, I didn't fit the vibe, but all these people did. Friends, colleagues, extended family, everyone but me. That was all the confirmation I needed. The more I thought about it, the clearer my plan became. I wouldn't beg for a seat at their table. I wouldn't grovel for scraps of their so-called special day. No, I was going to take back control. Quietly, methodically. I imagined Jason strutting into the venue, expecting fairy lights, champagne fountains, and floral arches, only to find a hollow, empty room. Guests arriving, dressed in their finest, greeted by silence and bare walls. The horror spreading across Madison's face as she realized her perfect Instagram moment had been erased. My pulse quickened, just picturing it. But before I acted, I needed to be certain. I reread the contracts line by line. Cancellation policies, refund clauses, vendor communication rights. Everything confirmed what I already suspected. As the contract holder, I had full authority. The wedding was theirs in name, but mine in control. I took a deep breath, setting my coffee mug down. My heart was pounding, but it wasn't fear, it was exhilaration. For years, I had been the one cleaning up Jason's messes, quietly supporting him while he basked in the spotlight. This time, I wasn't going to play the silent sister. This time, I was going to remind him exactly who he was dealing with. I reached for my phone, my fingers hovering over the screen. The first call would be the venue. After that, catering. Then florist. Then photographer. By the end of the day, Jason and Madison's dream wedding would be nothing but a memory. And I'd be the one holding the eraser. The morning sun was streaming through my blinds when I made the first call. My hands didn't even shake. Instead, there was this icy calm running through me, like I'd been waiting for this moment all my life. I dialed the venue's number, listening as it rang twice before a cheerful voice answered. "Willowcrest Events, how can I help you?" I smiled, though there was no one to see it. Hi. I'm calling about the booking under Emily Carter wedding for Jason Carter and Madison Lee on the 21st. I need to cancel the reservation. There was a brief pause. Oh, I see. Just to confirm, you're the contract holder? That's right. Everything was booked through me. Go ahead and process the cancellation. She hesitated, her tone dropping into something more cautious. You understand the deposit is non-refundable? That's fine. Cancel it anyway. A few minutes later, I hung up the phone. The venue gone. The first domino had fallen. I took a long breath, a strange sense of satisfaction washing over me. For years, I had been the dependable one, the fixer, the background support that everyone took for granted. But now, I was the one making the calls. Next up, catering. Jason and Madison had spent months bragging about their extravagant menu, 5 courses, an open bar, a champagne tower. I remembered sitting at Madison's kitchen table, nodding along while she described the luxury experience she wanted her guests to have. She had no idea that luxury existed only because of me. I dialed the catering company. A polite woman answered. Good afternoon. Blissful Bites Catering. Yes, hi, this is Emily Carter. I need to cancel the event I booked for Jason Carter and Madison Lee. Wedding on the 21st. Another silence. You want to cancel everything? That's just a couple weeks away. I know. And yes, cancel everything. All right, she said slowly. There will be a cancellation fee. I understand. Go ahead. When I hung up, I couldn't help the smirk tugging at my lips. No venue, no food. And I wasn't done. I moved down the list like a soldier crossing targets off a mission sheet. The florist. Cancel all floral arrangements for Jason Carter and Madison Lee's wedding. Yes, I'm the one who signed the contract. The photographer. I need to terminate the booking for the Carter-Lee wedding. Please direct all further communication to me. The decorator. No, I don't need to reschedule. Just cancel everything. Remove my name from your event calendar. With each call, I felt like I was peeling back the shiny layers of Jason and Madison's carefully constructed fantasy. Strip by strip, their perfect day was unraveling, and they had no idea. By the time I finished, it was mid-afternoon. I leaned back in my chair, phone still warm in my hand, and let out a long exhale. It was done. All the money, all the planning, all the bragging, they were left with nothing but empty promises and a bare calendar. I pictured Jason walking into the venue days later, expecting sparkling lights and elegantly set tables, only to be greeted by a hollow room. Madison trying to pose for her Instagram shots in a space stripped of flowers and decorations. Their guests arriving in tuxedos and gowns, staring in disbelief at nothing. And me? I would be sitting right where I was now, sipping coffee, watching their world collapse from the comfort of my own home. For once, I wasn't the one left out. For once, I was the one holding the power. And I wasn't finished enjoying it. The night before the wedding, my phone lit up just past 10. I almost ignored it, but when I saw Mom on the screen, curiosity won. Emily! Her voice came through sharp, frantic. In the background, I heard shouting, muffled voices, chaos. What did you do? I leaned back in my chair, keeping my tone casual. Good evening to you too, Mom. What's going on? Don't play dumb, she snapped. Jason just went to check the venue. It's empty. No tables, no flowers, no setup. The staff told him the booking was canceled. I feigned surprise. Wow, that's strange. Maybe you should ask whoever actually planned the wedding. There was a beat of silence before she whispered, horrified. You canceled everything, didn't you? I didn't hesitate. Of course I did. It was in my name. I paid for it, and since I wasn't invited, I decided not to pay for someone else's party. Her sharp inhale cut through the line. Emily, you've ruined your brother's wedding? No, I corrected her, my voice steady, almost cold. He ruined it the moment he decided I wasn't good enough to be there. I just made sure he faced the consequences. Before she could reply, another voice thundered through the background, Jason's. His words were ragged, panicked. What do you mean we have no food? The caterer canceled? What the hell is going on? I couldn't help it, a small, satisfied smile tugged at my lips. I pictured him pacing in a half-decorated living room, tearing his hair out as his dream day disintegrated. Mom's voice returned, trembling now. Emily, this isn't just about Jason. There are guests coming from out of town. Family, friends. You can't just— I can, I cut in smoothly. And I did. Don't you see, Mom? You all let him take advantage of me. You told me to let it go. So I did. I let the whole thing go. On the other end, silence stretched out. For once, my mother had nothing to say. I ended the call before she could recover. Setting the phone down, I sat in the stillness of my apartment. My heart was racing, but not with guilt, with adrenaline. Power, vindication. Tomorrow morning, guests would show up expecting champagne fountains and a fairy tale ceremony. Instead, they'd be greeted by 4 bare walls and nothing more. Jason thought I didn't fit the vibe. He was about to find out exactly what it felt like when the vibe turned to ash. The morning of the wedding arrived like any other for me. I made coffee, curled up on the couch, and scrolled through my phone. But instead of silence, my screen exploded with notifications. The first was from Aunt Linda, timestamped 8:05 a.m. Emily, what's going on? I just got to the venue. It's empty. No staff, no setup. Did they change locations? A minute later came another, from Uncle Ray. We came early to help out. There's nothing here. Is this a joke? I chuckled softly, sipping my coffee. No, it wasn't a joke. It was reality finally catching up with Jason and Madison. Within the hour, more messages poured in. Cousins, family friends, even some of Jason's coworkers. They all asked the same thing. What happened? I let the texts pile up, each one confirming what I already knew. The dream wedding had collapsed before it even began. Meanwhile, I pictured Jason and Madison rushing around in panic. Madison's perfect makeup streaked with tears. Jason's suit crumpled as he shouted into his phone, demanding answers from vendors who now reported only to me. The thought alone was delicious. Still, a tiny twinge of guilt pricked at me. These weren't just Jason and Madison's guests, they were my family too. People had flown in, taken time off work, spent money on gifts and outfits. They hadn't deserved to walk into a disaster. But then I remembered Madison's text, that smug dismissal. You don't fit the vibe. I remembered Jason's arrogance, the way he assumed I would bankroll his big day without question. No, I thought. This wasn't my guilt to carry. They had made their choices. Now, they had to live with them. At 9:30 a.m. My phone rang again, this time from Mom. I ignored it. A minute later, a text. They're trying to fix it. Jason says a caterer might still come, but the venue is gone. Everyone's upset. Please, Emily, this is humiliating for the family. Humiliating? The irony made me laugh out loud. For years, I'd been the one humiliated, pushed aside, told I wasn't important. Now, finally, they were getting a taste of their own medicine. I couldn't resist. I typed back to Aunt Linda. I heard the wedding's going great. Maybe they'll find some chairs and food lying around somewhere. Petty? Absolutely. Satisfying? Beyond words. By late morning, the tone of the messages shifted. The confusion turned to anger. Cousins wrote about guests leaving early. Uncle Ray messaged, I think they've called it off. People are packing up and heading home. This is insane. I leaned back, smiling at the ceiling. Jason and Madison had built their lives around appearances. Perfect photos, perfect parties, perfect smiles. And now, in front of the very people they wanted to impress, their perfect day had crumbled to dust. But as I set my phone down, an unexpected feeling stirred in me. This wasn't just about the wedding. This was years of resentment unraveling in one glorious moment. Years of being overlooked, undervalued, and dismissed. Jason had always believed he was untouchable. Madison thought money and charm could bend the world to her will. And yet, here they were exposed, powerless, humiliated. I wasn't just the sister who didn't fit the vibe. I was the one who decided whether the wedding even existed. And today, I'd decided it didn't. By mid-afternoon, my phone had turned into a desperate hotline. Jason called 3 times in a row. I let them all ring out. Then Madison tried 4 calls, each one ignored. Finally, a text appeared from her. Please just tell me you didn't cancel everything. I'll beg you. I'll do anything. Please, Emily. I stared at the words, my chest tightening with a mix of triumph and disbelief. This was the same woman who had cut me out with a smug smile. Now, she was begging. An hour later, Jason texted. His tone was stripped bare. We're going to City Hall, but we need help with food and setup. Emily, I'm sorry for everything I said. You're the only one who can fix this now. The irony nearly made me laugh out loud. The same brother who told me I didn't fit the vibe was now admitting he couldn't do anything without me. When he called again, I finally picked up. "Let me guess," I said, my voice dry. "Something wrong with the wedding?" His voice was hoarse, almost frantic. "Do you have any idea what you've done? People are furious. There's no food, no decorations, nothing. Please, we can fix this if you just call the vendors back. You still have time." I let the silence drag out, savoring his panic. Then I spoke slowly, deliberately. "Why should I? You made it very clear I wasn't wanted, remember?" "I was wrong," he blurted. "Okay, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. Just, please, Emily, we need you." For the first time, I heard something in Jason's voice I'd never heard before. Desperation laced with humility. I leaned back, letting my words fall like ice. "I'll help, but you're going to owe me, Jason. And I'm not talking about money." He went quiet. What do you mean?" "I mean you're going to fix what years of favoritism and disrespect have done. You're going to make it clear to Mom, to Dad, to Madison, to everyone that I am not the disposable one. I'm not the sister you cut out when it's convenient. From now on, I get respect. And you're going to say it publicly." The silence on the line stretched. I could practically hear him choking on his pride. Finally, his voice cracked. "I can do that. I'll tell everyone. Just please help us." It was the sweetest surrender I'd ever heard. Madison's voice suddenly cut through in the background, shaky and raw. "Emily, please. We'll be forever grateful. Just make this right." For a moment, I let the weight of their desperation sink in. I'd spent years watching them dismiss me, watching Jason reap all the rewards while I carried the burden. And now, the balance had shifted. "Fine," I said at last. "I'll get things moving. But remember this moment. You don't get to use me, toss me aside, and expect me to save you for free. Not anymore." When I hung up, a wave of satisfaction rushed through me. For the first time, Jason was no longer the golden boy. Madison wasn't the flawless bride. They were just two desperate people with no one left to turn to but the sister they had scorned. And I wasn't about to let them forget it. When I walked into City Hall that afternoon, the air was thick with unease. Guests stood in little clusters, whispering nervously, their eyes darting around the sterile lobby. This wasn't the grand wedding they'd been promised, it felt more like a courthouse errand. Jason and Madison spotted me immediately. Madison's face lit up with a mixture of relief and fear. Jason couldn't even meet my eyes. He just nodded stiffly, like a man forced to swallow broken glass. "Thank you for coming," Madison whispered, her voice trembling. She looked at me like I was some kind of savior. I didn't answer. I simply took a seat and let the silence stretch. The judge began the ceremony, reading the vows in a monotone that echoed off the tiled walls. No music, no flowers, no joy, just an awkward hush. Guests shifted in their seats, clearly uncomfortable. This was supposed to be a celebration, but it felt more like a funeral for a dream. And then the doors creaked open. A man in a suit stepped inside, carrying a large envelope. I recognized him instantly. The catering manager. Jason froze, the color draining from his face. Madison's smile faltered. He walked straight to the couple and handed Madison the envelope. "I think you'll want to read this," he said flatly. Her hand shook as she opened it. Within seconds, her expression collapsed into horror. It's a termination notice. They're fining us thousands for breach of contract." Gasps rippled through the room. Jason's jaw clenched, fury flashing across his face as he turned on the manager. "You were supposed to fix this." But the man didn't flinch. "Maybe you should have been more responsible, or treated the right people with respect." His eyes flicked toward me before he left the room. The silence that followed was suffocating. Madison's shoulders slumped, her dream gown crumpling as she whispered, "This isn't how it was supposed to be." The judge cleared his throat and rushed through the rest of the vows. When it was over, no one clapped. The guests filed out quickly, their whispers like daggers in the couple's pride. I stood, smoothing my jacket, and walked toward the door. Jason's eyes finally met mine, full of shame, anger, and defeat. I paused just long enough to say, low and steady, "This is what happens when you forget who's really holding everything together." And with that, I left City Hall, stepping into the sunlight with a smile tugging at my lips. For once, I wasn't the forgotten sister. I was the one who wrote the ending.